Your inputs is being displayed on the screen. If you want to script such system but you don't know how, continue the video and I will show you how. First we are going to make the GUI. So insert a screen GUI in the starter GUI and rename it to display inputs GUI and insert a frame and rename it to inputs container and set its size to 1 on the x-axis, 0.12 on the y-axis. Set its anchor point to 0.5, its position to be 0.5 on the x-axis to center it, and 0.9 on the y-axis. Increase its size a little on the y-axis by setting it to 0.14. Set its background color to be gray and its background transparency to be 0.6. Okay, let's create the template text label. Insert a text label, call it the template or temp. Set its size to be 1 on the y-axis and 0.07 on the x-axis. Its text scaled to true and set its font to Fordoka 1 and set its background transparency to 1 and add a UI stroke and set the text color 3 to white. Okay, the text label will look like this. Set it to invisible for now and insert a local script inside of the GUI. Name it the display inputs GUI handler. First let's get a reference to the services we want. We want the user input service. And now let's get a reference to the GUI elements. Start by grabbing the GUI by saying local GUI equals to script.parent and the inputs container frame to be GUI wait for child inputs container, and let's also get the template text label. Say local temp text label to be inputs container wait for child temp text label, and let's define a variable that is going to determine the distance between text labels. So let's call it distance between keys and set it for now to be 0.08. Let's make the input connection. Let's say user input service dot input ended. Connect this function which is going to take the input and the game processed event, and say if game processed event then return end. So if the user is typing in the chat, return, and if the input dot user input type equals enum dot keycode dot enum dot user input type dot keyboard, then return end. And also if the user input type is not a keyboard type, also return. Okay, so if the user input type is keyboard, we are going to create a new template text label. So local new text equals to temp text label clone. Let's get the string of the key code using local key string equals to user input service dot get string for key code. We are going to use this method and pass the input's key code to it, and it will return a string for this key code. And after getting the string key code, set the new text label we have just created to this key string. And before setting its parent to the inputs container, make sure to push all key elements that have been created before to the right. Say for every input in inputs container frame get the children do if input is not the temp text label and the input is not the new text we have just created, then push it to the right. So I'm going to say then local new x position equals to the input dot position dot x dot scale plus the distance between keys, and set this input new position to be udom2 dot from scale, and set its x scale to the new x position, and the y to its old position, which is the input dot position dot y dot scale. Okay, so now we have created a new text label element. Set its text property to the key string, and then push every text label we have created before to the right, and then make the new text parent to the inputs container frame, and before setting its parent, set its visible property to true. So now if we test, when I press any button, it gets displayed to the screen. The distance is too much. Decrease this variable, make it 0.06 instead of 0.08. Test now. This is better. So we want to destroy text labels after they get out of the screen. So we want to check the new x position and say if the new x position is greater than 1, then destroy the input destroy, and also decrease distance between keys to be 0.05. And now if we test, every input we press is showing here, and as soon as the input gets out of the screen, it gets destroyed for performance reasons. Make sure to like the video if it was helpful.